Tony Stark hit the ground running in the MCU and never stopped. He takes over the screen in every scene he's in, and fans desire to see more. All the intrigue put Tony's character arc on another level. The Iron Man saga needs to go somewhere from here, and many believe that direction is a finale. Perhaps it is time for the red and gold machine to hang it up. The real question is, where does Endgame go to get us to this point? After all, he is the focus of the first trailer. It feels like he is the guiding presence leading the audience to the conclusion, but Marvel is always keen to mislead fans. Still, we are more than happy to dive into the details and bring out some amazing fan theories worth reviewing. Without further delay, it's time to dive into all these Endgame developments worth considering. To go forward, we need to go back. Specifically, it is important to understand Tony Stark as an MCU character before jumping into all things fanatic. Otherwise, this entire video will be muddled and unclear. It is important to understand how everything was built to this point. When we first met Tony Stark, Blackberries were still cool and a billionaire playboy philanthropist was just another name for Bruce Wayne. Stark made this all feel new again. The character's arrogance to his own legacy of death and warfare was compelling. He lacked remorse until he saw the true face of evil behind his weapons dealings.
If you kill him when you were supposed to, you'd still have a face.
Tony is introduced as a character on a mission to repent. His selfish nature and inability to empathize with the people around him led to delusion. It takes a literal attempt on his life to change his viewpoint. That is wild. Stark lives his life at the most extreme stakes. Every character decision is motivated by dangerous, life-threatening situations. The Iron Man suit represented a desperate act to secure his life and change his legacy. The corrupted view we start with is shifted into the pursuit for peace. Both Iron Man and Iron Man 2 built off this idea of fighting back demons to change a legacy. The whole process is an uphill battle illuminated by his growing relationship to Pepper Potts. The growth is there initially, and seems to be all Tony needs to be concerned with. Well, things were going smooth until Loki and his band of misfits brought terror down to New York. Though Stark is assembled with the rest of the Avengers cast, it is clear he and Captain America are the central figures. However, the end sacrifice is made by Iron Man when he risks his life tossing a nuclear warhead through the portal. No character makes such a defining sacrifice for the greater good to this point. Stark should have died, and he saw the full extent of the threat on Earth.
What the hell?
He witnessed the might of Thanos. This moment spawned the next part of his arc, a story that was not settled until Infinity War. See, Tony suffered from PTSD after falling back through that wormhole in the Resolution. The mental anguish is directly connected with anxiety over Thanos. Age of Ultron gives a more concrete example of this as we see Tony go through dramatic actions to secure peace and prevent Thanos from killing everyone. On top of this, Civil War shows Stark attempting to come to terms with the feeling of loss, specifically the loss of his parents. He refuses to accept the loss of the people close to him. All of these efforts directly tie into a threat he knows will arrive. The threat is Thanos. The Titan even admits to Tony that he is an adversary he hopes the people of Earth to remember.
I hope they remember you.
That scene appears to be an acknowledgement of the bond the two share. Tony wants to get Thanos out of his head. It can be argued that Thanos sees him as the only threat to his titanic mission to this point. Tony gets his group of heroes the closest thing to defeating Thanos to that point. It is all motivated by a personal fear, though. He believes the emotional hang-ups and fear of loss all stems back to that day in New York when Thanos changed his life forever. The trailer even hints at this being a driving factor. They open up on Tony lost in space. It is clear this role in the film is huge. After all, he is the closest in traits to Thanos. If Infinity War featured Thanos as the protagonist, then Endgame will likely focus on his equal, Iron Man. The trailer and production leaks also give some helpful hints. Pepper and Tony's relationship is the focal point of his monologue in the trailer, and both actors have alluded their relationship finally settling fully in Endgame. Other rumors have circulated from multiple press outlets claiming that the two are going to have a child. The trouble with that is they need time for that to happen. Things in Endgame are going to need to jump forward quickly for the rumor to be confirmed. For a production company swirling with red herrings, it's hard to know if these reports are to be taken seriously. However, that does not mean theories about the way the creators could introduce that element have not cropped up, all of which have some valid ideas. There are 3 big-time theories that we think are plausible and relevant to these hints and rumors surrounding Endgame. All of them involve time travel, so before we dive into each one, let's summarize the finer points of that aspect. A more common theory parading around the corners of the internet is the inclusion of time vortexes through Ant-Man's storyline. Fans believe the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp hinted at the time vortex to introduce the idea. It is likely Ant-Man will discover these time vortexes, leading him to other moments in time that could help him and the Avengers defeat Thanos.
Can you buzz me in?
This is a theory in itself, but it's our goal to explain where that time travel might lead to some actual consequences. The most predominant theory is this time travel ties into Tony Stark's arc as a way of connecting him to Thanos and ultimately defeating him. The first theory involves going back in time through the swirly holes of confusion. In all honesty, we don't know what these things are going to look like, so swirly holes of confusion is the best way to describe it right now. Anyways, fans believe Tony will need to acquire the Soul Stone in order to defeat Thanos. By basically going back to the accident with his parents and basically giving the order for Bucky to complete his mission. Some argue that this is a sacrifice on the scale needed to acquire the Soul Stone. Since Tony will have done that in the past, he can keep it from Thanos in that way. The result is a scarred conscience from causing the loss of his parents, but the end result will be a new family to hold on to. This way, all of the first 3 phases tie into each other nicely. On to the second theory! Catherine Langford is said to be appearing in Endgame. Langford may play Tony's daughter from the future. Tony will meet her as he and Ant-Man skip and jump through time, and Tony will need to sacrifice a future with her to prevent Thanos from prevailing again. The parallel sacrifice, like Thanos giving up Gamora, rewards Tony the Soul Stone. The theory more directly connects the supervillain to our hero.
What did you say?
The idea challenges Thanos' beliefs more fully and offers an element of new beginnings. Tony will need to accept his inability to save a personal connection to secure the safety of millions. It is the exact scenario many believe he has to face to secure his story in the MCU. Finally, the last theory ties into these two, and seems to be the one every theory connected to it jumped off from to this point. See, Iron Man might make it back to Earth. That is a core factor to making this a reality. He also might find Pepper back on Earth. She is scheduled to appear in the film, and comments by Gwyneth Paltrow suggest her character is shown pregnant in the film. However, this could all tie into the previously mentioned theory. Instead, let's go to a much darker place. Seriously, bring your flashlight. It's about to get sad and dismal. The idea goes that Tony makes it back, and he and Pepper find their way in this new reality. They start a family and make do knowing all is lost. For the sake of the theory, fans suggest Tony has a boy, and to add a cherry on top of this sad Sunday, some believe the boy will be named Peter. You know, like the teenage boy who disappeared in Stark's arms when he was powerless to save him. All of this is disrupted by Ant-Man arriving and introducing the time travel dynamic. The Avengers settle on a plan to defeat Thanos by going back in time to reverse the snap. The only problem is time travel splits timelines. Tony will need to give up on his Peter to bring Spider-Man and the others back. This theory challenges notions of happiness. In this one, the sacrifice doesn't gift Tony the Soul Stone. The Avengers simply change the timeline. However, this all challenges what is happiness for our metal protagonist. After all, the happiness he might find after reversing the snap may not feel real then, because the heroes will have played God themselves. It will bring up all sorts of moral and ethical questions and send Tony on a path that is unresolved. This theory gives him an ending, but that ending does not give Tony a conclusive arc. It leaves him guessing. No theory is better than the other. Each offers its own answer to Tony's future and the way to defeat Thanos. Everything is unclear to this point, but that's what makes this cinematic event so appealing. Anything can happen, and each theory is grounded in a plausible reality. One strand each theory focuses on is that element of sacrifice. Viewers seem convinced that Tony will need to give something up personal to him. The outcome is likely, but not certain. In fact, many of these theories, keep in mind we are only highlighting the best, revolve around the Soul Stone. We believe that gem may be the key to defeating Thanos, and someone is going to need to give something up for it. The real question the theories center around is whether Iron Man is truly the central character for Endgame. He is most likely going to give it all up. No one can doubt this. However, other heroes have people to lose. There is no guarantee Tony is the character we need to be focusing on. Well, that brings us to the final point on the topic. The thing is, this all spawns from Doctor Strange's strange comments to Tony in Infinity War.
There was no other way.
The theories stem from a certain perspective on Strange's tone. They believe he is apologizing. If he is, what is he apologizing for? Perhaps it is the loss of everyone in the Snappening. Or maybe it is the theory about Tony going back to take part in his parents' accident. Even more striking, it could be the loss of a child fans don't know about yet. Let us know in the comments down below what you think, and tune in for all the up-to-date content from behind the screen. All you have to do is hit the link down below to be automatically subscribed.